So hi, Mom.
Hello, Kamaria.
And welcome back to your YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be interviewing my mother for her own YouTube channel because I think that I have a lot of insight on what you all would like to know about her.
And she did not let me know in advance what the questions are, so here we go.
So let's start off with a little bit about you. Where are you from?
I'm from Chicago.
Who did you grow up in the house with?
I grew up in the house with my mother and father. They were married until death did he part. My mother is still alive, and my older sister, Pam.
And when did you leave Chicago and why?
I left in 1984 when I graduated from high school. I graduated from Elizabeth Seton, and I went to Spelman College, and I lived in Atlanta for the next 30 years.
How was Spelman for you?
I loved it. It was good. I was very happy for the experience. I had gone to a private, predominantly white education up until Spelman, so I wanted the black experience. It was still all girl, even though Morehouse was directly across the street. I completed 3 years because I tested out of my freshman year. All I had to do was write a paper to graduate. I didn't write the paper. I didn't graduate.
Why didn't you want to write the paper?
I wanted a break because I went in, it was on a semester system. I was doing 18 hours. I had honors courses. And I was like, Mom, I'm just going to take a 6-month break. And she was like, don't do it. You'll never finish. And she was correct. I never finished.
What were you studying?
Sociology with a concentration in criminology and a psych minor.
Is that what you were passionate about?
So what I'm passionate about are the way people operate and the way their minds operate and why people do the things that they do. So I wanted to help people, and I just wanted to be, but then the more you get into sociology, they share it with you. You can't help everybody. Not everybody is not going to, some are just wired wrong is what the instructor said. And I was like, whoa. And as a Christian and as an optimist, and then I was like, no, we can help everybody, right? But you know what? They were right. Life has shown me time and time again, and now, and I really believe in helping those who can help themselves as well.
And so outside of just the academics, your experience at Spelman, what was that like? Did you fall in love? Did you make best friends?
Who do I know from Spelman still? Okay, so really the person that I communicate with regularly from my Spelman years is a guy who went to Morehouse. And he's not on social media, so I won't call his name.
Nice. And then after you didn't take the test and you didn't graduate, what were you doing?
Ooh, I don't even know. I think I started in restaurants, and then I became a line cook, then I became the head line cook, and then from there, eventually I opened my own catering company.
What was that called?
Patti's Preferred Plate. I was a caterer to the stars in Atlanta.
That is correct. And what notable stars might you be able to say here so we can know some of those folks?
Well, it started with L.A. Reid, and it went to Usher, Jermaine Dupri, Bow Wow, Ludacris, Hot 97.5 and Kathy Hughes, Ryan Cameron. When Puffy came through, Evander Holyfield, Janice Holyfield, Monica Kaufman, Marion Brooks. If you were anybody in Atlanta on the social scene, you've probably eaten some of my food.
Don't leave Jermaine out.
I said Jermaine early.
You said Jermaine? Okay. And
because me and Jermaine,
Yeah, you guys were tight. I spent a lot of my childhood doing homework in Jermaine Dupri's studio as Usher and Bow Wow, and you name it, walked by.
Janet was there a couple times.
I've seen Janet Jackson in the flesh several times. And so you mentioned Monica Kaufman, but there was something else you did for Monica's mother that I would like you to talk about.
I also did it for Monica Kaufman. I did hair. So I did hair. So at Spelman, that's what I did for my weekend cash. I did everyone's hair. I did in the basement of Manly and whatever else the name of all those dorms were 9,000 years ago. And I did Marion Brooks, who used to be a news anchor in Atlanta, Monica Kaufman's mother, and just anybody who would walk up to me and say, oh my God, who does your hair? Me. Oh, can you do mine?
How did you learn how to do hair?
Probably from doing my own. I used to have a lot of hair. And so when people say, oh, you still have a lot of hair. No, it used to be down to here and it was super thick. And yeah, it was a lot of hair.
Mm-hmm. And so then from catering, how long did you do that?
Ooh, 15 years almost, yeah. So no, you were probably 2 or 3 when I started. Mm-hmm. And I stopped right when you became 16, so about 14, 15 years. It was your high school years. I needed to be at home more. So I worked at a car dealership as a receptionist, and they were like, Patti, can you sell cars? And I sold cars for a little bit. And we were pretty much okay, so I was just doing filler work to have something to do. But I needed to be home at nights and different things to help manage your up-and-coming social life as you were a teenager.
I do think you might have stopped catering before that, because there was a time you were doing real estate, middle school, right? Before the car dealership.
Okay, true.
And there was the gym, when you were working at the gym.
True. It's so many things. You know what? Right. And I used to have a friend that told me all the time that, what did she say? A jack of all trade, but a master of none. Mm-hmm. And I would take the Bible verse and say, God gave me 10 talents. Mm-hmm. And I didn't bury any of them, that I used all of my talents. So, yes. What did you say first?
Real estate.
Real estate. At some point before the first bubble burst, and I'm going to say her name, Courtney Gore. Courtney Gore and I worked together in Atlanta. It's real estate. I started off as her loan processor, and then I went ahead and became a mortgage broker. And you know, when I was leaving the catering thing, I said, God, I don't know how I will make more money than what I have made as a caterer. And then I sat at home in my basement and processed loans and brokered loans in my pajamas and made more money than I had ever made before.
Mm-hmm. I remember the basement office.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so then we're going back now, but back when you met me, how'd you meet my dad? Who is he to you?
So, I was, again, when I left college, I started working in restaurants, and I was also, I did front of the house and back of the house. So either I could be a line cook, a dessert cook, a sous chef, a salad person, or whatever, bake, saute. I had to work all stations of the line, but I also worked front of the house. Mm-hmm. And I was at Country Place restaurant in Colony Square in Atlanta, and your dad had just come in with Dwight, your uncle, and they had seen, name the ballet, the black ballet.
Alvin Ailey?
They had just come from Alvin Ailey. Or maybe they had come from somewhere else, because when he came up to ask me out on a date, he asked me if I would like to go to Alvin Ailey. That's what it was. So he asked me if I would like to go to Alvin Ailey. Of course, I've danced ballet for a number of years. And I said, absolutely, I would love to see Alvin Ailey. So that was our first date, and that is how I met your dad in Country Place in Atlanta.
You know what year that was?
So if you were born in 93, that would have been 92.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds like a whirlwind romance. What happened after that first ballet?
I think we dated for roughly, maybe 3 months in. He asked me to marry him. 6 months later, we were engaged to be married. That had to have been somewhere like summer of 92. And by March of 1993, you were born. So, you were born, I was pregnant at the wedding. Mm-hmm. You were born, I don't know. Yes, but that's how it went in those timelines. Mm-hmm. But yes, I was pregnant at the wedding.
What were your first impressions of my dad?
That he was funny, that he was attractive, not my, regular type of attractive. He even had a headshot. I think he was doing some modeling or something. He had very thick eyebrows. Mm-hmm. That was my impression.
Mm-hmm. And out of that whirlwind romance, what type of dates or outings do you remember the most? What kind of engagements did you and him have?
So he is a music head, a cigar head, a liquor aficionado. Those types of things. So he went to a lot of jazz clubs and moody type smoky places or cultured things like the ballet.
Mm-hmm. And what changed most about you when you became a mom?
My sense of protectiveness and acknowledging what I wanted for your life and what the standard of living for you had to be. So when we've invited someone in our house who, was pregnant in high school, one of your high school classmates. And to me, when motherhood hit, a light bulb went off like, oh, I have a mouth to feed, a child to see about something, and my whole life changed. And I thought that happened with everyone, and I think it does not happen for everyone. And while I know that it does not happen for everyone, but my level of motivation, stamina, drive, all that was 1,000% changed.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, people are wired differently.
Correct. And it also ended up leading to the demise of the divorce with your dad, which we have a wonderful relationship. We've been co-parenting now for 30 years. Because he was kind of lackadaisical and he had different thoughts about money. And, I was like, oh, no, we got to get it. And, he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. And at one point I became the breadwinner. And so I did the math in my head. I was like, I can feed 2 or I can feed 3. 2 is easier. And it wasn't as simple as that. It was his perspective, which I didn't know was his perspective on a lot of things that, as far as financials were concerned, that made me say, okay, I can't do this. Not with him, not with the child. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you feel like you really knew him when you even got married?
Oh, absolutely not.
And
I'll tell you one thing. Okay, so, and then when you were born, it made me revisit my childhood, because I had gone to my mother and I was like, what do you think? And she was like, no one else has asked you to marry him. He's light skinned, good hair, you'll have a pretty baby. If you ever came to me and said, should I marry someone, that would never be my answer. Well, you're 30 now and no one's ever asked you to marry him. I think listen, your eggs are drying up. It was a different time. She used the tools she had in her toolbox, but it also just made me say, oh, I immediately have to begin to be different.
And speaking of Granny, what are some of the things that you think you see in yourself that are most like her? Whether you love those things or whether you dislike those things.
I'm kind of dramatic and over the top like her. And so while that may get on my nerves about her, it makes me giggle about me.
Imagine.
Obviously the creative. She's very creative. She had a very strong sense of style, decorating, fashion. She was a little more social or put on in front of groups than I ever would, because I prefer not to be in front of groups. And, and a lot of people think that I'm an extrovert. When I taught Zumba, people are like, oh, she's the life of the party. Actually, I'm not. I come out, I do my thing, and then I go home. So I've read a quote. I don't know that I'm going to call myself an introvert. I'm going to say that unless proactively engaged or I'm enjoying the engagement, I'd rather spend time with myself. So that's another where we were different. And I just think for everything that I feel like I need to work on, I've at least attempted to source out and work on and take a look at and say, can I do this better? Can I do that better? I'm not so absolute in my philosophies about myself, life, people, my parenting skills, any of that. I'm willing to be coached or learn.
And same question about your father. What about him did you take?
So when I was raised, he was just a man's man. He was a man's man. That's what we knew. Because we didn't have fancy words like narcissist or that sort of thing. Now, I'm not going to call my dad a narcissist, right? I'm just going to say he's a 1980s, 1970s, 1960s man's man. And that's what I grew up in. And that's what I grew up knowing. And that's kind of set the expectation for. And that's another thing. I've been married before, maybe more than once. Certainly Kamaria won't ask me here. But so I think that the marital situations that I chose to engage in were really unhealthy, to be honest with you. It came from, and not to say that my mother and father's relationship was unhealthy, but they were just whatever they were, right? And so when I looked at some things that were outside of my boundaries, I was like, that's normal, that's normal, that's normal. And then I realized that's not going to be my norm. Mm-hmm. I'll be single before that's my norm.
Mm-hmm. And in your life, who has loved you the best? Whether it's romantic, platonic, random.
So, I'm going to say two people. My neighbor, Mrs. Brown. And if Mrs. Brown ever sees this, I give her flowers every day in my head, right? I love her so much. When I was growing up, she would just walk past me and give me all old school wisdom. If you feel this, do this. If you think this, do this. If the hair on your arm raises up, do this. If someone says this to you, do that. If you blah, blah, blah. And she would just, she would just run all these scenarios past me. And I was like, what? I used to babysit her children. She was like, if Mr. Brown comes home and, yada, yada, yada. And she would give me all these scenarios. And I was like, Mr. Brown's an angel. What are you talking about? But she just set me up and told me things that all young girls need to know. And I think when I, encounter different situations where, oh, that's what Miss Brown said. Now I need to do this. Mm-hmm. Now I need to do that. And so I feel like without the information she shared with me, like she rescued me, and so when I made some different decisions and I would share with my mother and she'd be like, where'd you even get this information from? And I'd be like, Miss Brown. And she was like, well, then now you can't go to Miss Brown's house anymore. But I knew Miss Brown she lived directly across the street from us on 87th and Merrill in Chicago. So but I remember all the things to this day. And, when I think about who I turned out to be, I still can hear Miss Brown's voice. Mm-hmm. So the second person, ta-da, you. Because you taught me how to love myself. Mm-hmm. And even when I was in one marriage that you considered subpar for me and came to the house and looked around and said, ooh, child, if you ever find my mama, if you ever find Patti Roberts, let her know I came by here looking for her because this is not my mama. This is not how I would live. How she would live. This is not who raised me in East Cobb. This is not our 5-bedroom convertible Benz driving single parent mama. So if you ever see her again, and if I get married and have grandchildren, they're not coming to this little rat trap to be straight cussed out. But it was so one of the things I had developed from my childhood was being happy in all situations, like the Bible says. Be content. And I was content. Like this is, and maybe it was below what I was used to, but I said to myself, I'm going to, be a godly wife and edify, esteem, uplift, blah, 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 da, da, da. Yeah, okay.
How did it make you feel when I said that?
So, I believe in being two people. The person I needed to be when I was a child, and the person that my daughter needs me to be. So it made me know that I was not being the person that my daughter needed me to be. Mm-hmm. And I just think that, and not that my decisions are based on what you would have me do, but if you told me the exact same story of what I was living, if you came and said, this was your situation, I'd be like, okay, if you need me to kill this man so you could leave because you're not going to live like this. This is not how I raised you. Like, why are you doing this? Like, and granted, when people are grown, they get to make the decisions they want to make. But if I am watching you make unhealthy decisions, I'm not just going to sit by and watch you make unhealthy decisions. So I know that you were watching me make an unhealthy decision.
Mm-hmm. And so, since that was your last marriage, and we don't really have to touch on two, it was unmemorable. But what is the biggest lesson from each marriage? There's three in total, three very different men. Number one, dad. And it doesn't have to be a hard lesson. It could be a good lesson that you learned. It could be anything.
All these lessons are really lessons about me.
Right.
That I just, all three of them, we can sum it up in one. I didn't know me well enough. I didn't know men well enough. I didn't have an expectation. I believe, and it's only been three because I believe in what God believes. God loves marriage. I'm not trying to fornicate. I was abstinent for 6, 8, 10 years when I was raising you at one point. And so for me, it was better to marry than burn because that's what the Bible says. The second marriage could have been annulled. I don't even remember how many months we were married, and it just turned out to be, it should have never happened. My pastor did not agree with it. He didn't even marry me. And then, shortly after being married, I realized that I had made a mistake. But I just learned that, I don't know that I feel like I can't go against the Bible and say girl, you better find out what's in the, yada, 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 yada. I'm not going on public record saying that, but yeah, I just needed to know more about me, more about men, more about life. And you know what? And so now haven't dated in almost 2 years. And it's because there's a spirit that knows me, that is attracted to me, that I naturally migrate to. And the other thing is every level is a new devil. And so, I was chatting with a gentleman maybe a little bit, almost 2 years ago at this point, and he was just the 10th power of narcissist. Look good, smell good, dress good. You wouldn't think it was a narcissist, but emotionally unavailable, non-committal, yada, yada, yada. So it doesn't have to be grimy down here. It could be real high level up here. And, and they come in all shapes, sizes, forms, colors, da, 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 da. And so until I can make sound decisions for myself, I just stave off of that.
And in these relationships that you've had with men, what have you learned about the way you love romantically?
The truth is, and the other reason I'm probably not dating anyone is because I'm emotionally unavailable. Because I have guards and boundaries and shields and blockages and different things, and I am a survival of the fittest. And when it comes to push or shove, what's that, ride or die? I'm not your ride or die. What's that, I tried it, I'm gonna let you lead me. And I believe, theoretically, that my man should be able to do that, but unfortunately, based on some past experiences for me, I don't think that I've ever really emotionally let my guard down to let any man really lead me, honestly.
And when is the last time that you can honestly say that you were disappointed in yourself?
So I'm a little delusional when it comes to that. I don't know if disappointed is the word for how I deal with myself, honestly. I mostly feel like, ooh, I could have done that better. And tomorrow's a new day, and I'll get up and try something different. Maybe snapping at a loved one, or, forcing someone to hear my truth when they weren't prepared to hear it. And I can think you should have done that. You could have dialed that back some. But yeah. So disappointed, probably I'm more like of a slap on the hand. Apologize, do better.
When's the last time you were disappointed in me?
I don't know. Probably when I was like, "Do you smoke weed?"
So over 10 years ago?
Yeah. I think you were 16, about 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. You're 15, 16, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't just, you know what, I was shocked because I thought I knew you well. And so when someone else said, you know, your child smokes weed, I'm like, my child don't smoke weed. I'm like, yeah, here's the, you know, signs or, you know, because I was like a hawk, none of your business. I was like a hawk parent. So I was a helicopter mom. So I didn't think I could miss a thing. So when I missed that, I was like.
It was a neighbor, right?
It was Dennis, a handyman from one of the gyms I worked in.
Don't remember Dennis.
Right.
But that's funny. So that's the last time you were disappointed in me?
Yeah, disappointment is not really a word I use. I can only think of.
When's the last time I shocked you?
Howard, when you wore black lipstick with that yellow and black dress.
Why?
I don't know. It was just shocking to me. And you know where you were a little shocking in high school when they called you granny and you dressed like a grandma. Mm-hmm. That was shocking. So some of the iterations of you, some of the changes, some of the evolving of Kamarias, I was just like, oh.
How does that make me different from you, or how do you think I'm different from you?
I think you had more room to express yourself and be whoever you wanted to be. And I know you probably felt like, no, I was the iron claw, but no, I lived in the iron claw and just, you know, I was this straight and narrow. So I think you had more room to, you know, flip around. You know, like I don't think I would have had the luxury to come in the house with black lipstick on. Mm-hmm. You know, that you devil worshiping and go wash your face or just something.
Mm-hmm. Had you had more room to express yourself or explore about yourself, what opportunities might you have taken?
No clue.
Mm-hmm. What do you want to know about yourself at 57 years old? What opportunities haven't you taken that you still want to know about Patti?
So this is a fantastic time in my life. Like I feel free, I feel happy, I feel content, I feel satisfied. Like, okay, and so that the other thing is now you have to remember I'm still in the always content mode. So like until last year, 2023, I didn't have a passport. I had never been out the country. Or Bahamas one time, but you didn't need a passport way back when. So, you know, you're the one who's pushing me to like, listen, mama, we can travel the world. We could do this, we could do that, we could do the other. Mm-hmm. So I still really am content. There are things that I work on and develop, you know, daily, but I appreciate that there's so much more to life that I still haven't experienced.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to fall back in love and get married again?
I don't know that I have to get married. I could use a good old Stedman. Mm-hmm. Somebody that lives in a separate house, or monogamous, you know, and I don't know that men, even grown men approaching 60 even believe in monogamy anymore. I'm like, it's the weirdest thing. But it's just too many diseases and strangeness and whatever. So if I could find a monogamous man who, you know, who would not come and try and tell me how to live, like, oh, you're going to do a Warner's ad in a bra and panties on the internet? You can't do that. Or, oh, someone called and said, can you be in Japan tomorrow? Well, you can't do that. So I don't even know if that's fair to relationships. I don't know how relationships work. Like, can I be free? Right. So, yeah.
But assuming you could, mm-hmm. and that you did find that person who has the same jet-setting type of lifestyle, mm-hmm. knowing what you know about your emotional availability.
So, lately, I've been thinking, you know what, I should test the waters. You know, but I'm super busy. This is a very busy time for me in my life. And I've been thinking, I'm going to go on a dating website. I'm going to test the water and see if I even like it. And, you know, I called one of my oldest friends, Rebecca, if you ever see this, hey. And she was like, girl, get you a gay. Just get you a gay. Just get you somebody that dresses good, smells good, is tall, handsome, blah, blah, blah. You can go to dinner, you all can go to drinks, you can go to events, you can giggle, and you can go home, and he can go home, and you'd be done with it. And that did sound cute.
I have a gay husband.
Oh, yeah, so she was just like, get you a gay.
I've had the same one for over 10 years.
They went to prom together.
We went to prom together. Mm-hmm. And we go to drinks together weekly still.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Rebecca and friends, who do you cherish? What friends do you cherish? And what type of friendships are those?
Honestly, my most cherished friendships are my old friendships. Okay. And so let me say this. I may not have spoken to someone in 10 years. My god sister from Chicago, Cindy McKinney Lindsay, one of my most cherished friends. It doesn't matter that I haven't talked to her 5 or 6 years. Rebecca, most cherished friend, known her since you were 2. Amani Barbara Roos in Chicago. Tweety in Chicago. Angela. Because my friends understand there's hardly anyone that I talk to daily other than you, my sister, my mother, But my friends understand if I go dark, that means absolutely nothing. I'm not depressed. I'm not sad. I'm not mad. I'm not, they just, girl, you good? I'm good. All right. That's it. Like, I am very low maintenance. You know what? And so now, I'm not, Courtney Gore, my heart, I have friends that I've known for forever. And I'm not team no new friends, but it's hard. It's even harder in this space that I am in currently. And people are just, and I'm on this whole self-development journey, trying to be the best me I can be. And sometimes when I meet things, they cross these new boundaries. Because I'll give you some examples. There were ways you could play with me before. Oh, girl, I thought your hair was thick. It's not thick, it's thin. Oh, we should go shopping. I'm gonna help you pick out some clothes. What's wrong with you?
So shade.
Shade. So guess what, babe? There was a time where you could shade me, and I'd be like, kiki, girl, you so silly. Now I'm like, how about I don't need to know you? I don't have to know you. And, and again, those are strong boundaries, and I get it. But those are things I'm not willing to deal with. I'm too grown to deal with. I'm too big to deal with. I am to develop past that point to deal with.
And when you say develop past that point, 1, do you mean that people can't play with you? And 2, do you mean that you don't play with people like that?
Okay. So I know I'm going to say that people can't play with me, and I don't play with people like that. Now I know that you're going to say I play with people like that. Sometimes I'm a little too.
This is an interview. I'm here to ask.
Right. So, but if I'm playing with you, I'm letting you know I'm playing with you. I'm not being shady in my head, right? I have a relationship with you well enough where we can have those conversations. But I'm not just going to shade somebody that I don't know like that. Or even if so I have really old friends that have been kind of shady or kind of questionable.
And you don't mean old as in age, you mean old as in their
Long
relationship
time.
to you.
But it just feels different. I can't be talked to how I was talked to before. Like I can't be, and especially in this new space, like say in this new field that I'm in, you can't come and tell me how to run my business over here. Well, 1, you've never even been a business owner. 2, you're not even familiar with the industry that I'm in. 3, you've never posted anything online. 4, so talking to me demeaning or condescending, if I consider it demeaning or condescending. And so, yes, and from your perspective, maybe I could tighten up on how I talk to people as well.
I mean, if we're talking about my perspective, which genuinely we're not, you have come a long way.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I don't think that you're intentionally shady now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I was 10, maybe not the case.
Okay. Now listen, I'm going to tell you, okay, so I'm a product of my environment. Not that that's an excuse, but every day I work to be better than what my previous experiences were. You know, my mother was shady to me. And so that's why when I met people who were shady to me, I could kind of laugh it off, because for years I had laughed off my mother, like, don't cut off your hair. That's the prettiest thing about you. Mm-hmm. If I shave my hair ball, I'm still going to be cute. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, or put some lip gloss on, or take some of that bass out your voice so you can sound more delicate and feminine. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, don't go out the house without earrings, but just different things that I always had to aspire to. So now that when people talk to me, like, so when people were being shady to me, or saying little things derogatory to me, or saying that that's not cute. A, did I ask you? B, did I give you any feedback on your outfit? C, you know, blah, blah, blah. So now my boundaries have just changed.
Mm-hmm. And something wrong with that. That's growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so, speaking of boundaries and speaking of shade,
mm-hmm.
you're now on the internet every day, and that can be one of the shadiest places where people can comment on you or ask very inappropriate questions or offer their unsolicited opinions. How do you handle that?
Cue the song. I can't sing, y'all, but here we go. It's all about confidence, baby.
We might just have to buy the rights to the song. I don't know how much that costs.
It's all about confidence. No, but really, no. I mean, what you gonna say? Ooh, her nose is big. Okay. Oh, okay. She got a deep voice. Is that a man? Or she would look better if she dyed her hair. Or blah, 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 blah. And blah, 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 blah. And you know, half the time they don't have a picture. You user number 678423892. You got a private account.
Sounds super specific.
You have no followers. Like, you know what? And then, because my self-esteem is what it is, what you gonna tell me about me? What you gonna say to me I ain't never heard before? Mm-hmm. What you say about me is actually a bigger reflection of you than it is of me. So, baby, I can just, and I just, okay, Amy. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And the vote of confidence of what I do and the brands who pay me to do it, your comment means what? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's really about, let me sing the song again?
No. But we do get the point.
Okay.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And what makes you feel confident?
This is it. What? What you want from me?
Were you always confident?
No. Okay, and so let me say this. See if I want to say this out loud to the world. Like, you know, there was a time, and still now, you know, when I'd be like, well, I might not be the cutest girl in the room, but I'm going to be the best dressed, or I'm going to smell the best, or my hair will be the prettiest, or something, something, something. So it's not like this boastful arrogance of who I am. I'm about like, but at the end of the day, guess what? It is who I am. Mm-hmm. This is it. This is what you get. Mm-hmm. There's nothing I can do about this. I mean, there's a couple things, you know, but I choose not to do them. I choose to show up this way. This is, and what can I do?
Who's made you feel most beautiful besides yourself?
And you, some little knucklehead I dated one time, every time he saw me, he would say I was beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And why me?
So instilling the confidence in you, because you were confident, instilling the confidence in you to show up however you choose to show up, made me like, well, I can show up however I choose to show up too. And I'm not going to put on black lipstick, but you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so me being willing to explore and create and try things with my look or with whatever that may have been new and different to you.
So I was always a little, you know, alternative out there, but not really having the area to self-express, you know, cowboy boots, cut off blue jean shorts, a cowboy hat, when it wasn't even, popular to do or that sort of thing. So, but I just considered it alternative, like Black girl in alternative spaces. Yeah, but then when I became someone's mother, I closed my space up a little bit more, to represent, we lived in East Cobb.
Were you worried about the world judging me for being so loud with my differences?
No. I wasn't worried about anyone judging you or any backlash. And I don't know if you remember when I was divorcing your dad, you probably don't remember. I came to you because I've always talked to you like this. I've never had moo goo boo boo baby type of conversation. So when I was like, listen, youngin, what's about to happen is I'm gonna leave your dad, blah, blah, blah. We're about to go get our own apartment. We're gonna do, da, 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 da. And you was like, that's fine, mommy. But one of the things I instilled in you was that it's me and you against the world. I don't care what you do, as long as you tell me you're doing it. Because I'm your advocate, I am your safety, I am your security, I'm your edifier, I am your financier, I'm everything to you. So I wasn't afraid for you, as long as you were honest with me. Because who gonna say what?
And so now, in 2024, you are an entrepreneur.
Again.
You are in a new city.
New York.
And really quick before I move on, what is this? Would we say your 6th or 7th city? So we started in Chicago. Then there was Atlanta.
Then there was DC.
DC. I mean, you went back to Chicago at some point.
Okay, there was Chicago, Atlanta, Chicago.
Again.
Then Atlanta again. Then DC. Then Charlottesville, Virginia. Then Arlington, Virginia. Then New York.
Okay, yeah. So 8. We did, 8. So with Atlanta and Chicago being repeats.
Correct.
And so, entrepreneur again, new city, working more closely with me, got a passport, growing audience and engagement every day. What are you looking forward to? What's next on the things that you want to accomplish?
So my 2024 goal thing was mastery. So 2023 was elevated experiences. 2024 for me was about mastery, taking some of the things that I've learned or seen or done in 2023 and really fine-tuning them and doing them in the way that God would have it, how it worked out. My daughter, who is a Howard graduate, who School of C, communications, journalism, producing, all things TV, that sort of thing, right? Now works with me. We work together. She is my director of strategy, which I'm very happy to say. So I feel like the mastery part is already happening. Even this, YouTube. 3 cameras, new lights, just new, different ideas and possibilities and areas where I can grow and, again, master the field that is new to me and her and us and the world, actually. I mean, how long have influencers been around? Excited for mastery, continuing to bring more elevated experiences into 2024, more travel. One of the things that was on your 2024 vision board is already coming into fruition. Can we say what that is? No. Okay, we'll tell them later. They'll see. And so then what on YouTube can folks be looking forward to learning more about you? Or what are you going to share here? So I think in short form, in under 60 seconds or under 3 minutes on Instagram or TikTok, people had questions, always asking me for longer tutorials. So really, this is going to be the people's platform. You ask me, I answer, and then when things cross my mind that I want to share organically, I'll do that as well. But I am open to questions, this interview, and just different things. One of the things that, like you mentioned, people have been doing this for a while, but that I always tell people when I talk about you is that you've been an influencer, mostly just in real life. So when we used to go to church, that was your biggest runway. People would
flock to you after service and ask you about your outfit or your shoes or your hairs, and there would always be people at our house after school getting their eyebrows razored or their hair dyed, or you would be whisking me to someone's house to help decorate their Christmas tree or help them finish building a house. Why all of those things?
So, you know what, and all those things, fine, well, and I hear what you're saying, but I want to say this. The biggest influence I've ever had is on impacting young women in careers, in support, in leaving my door open. So when I hear all those things you say about those are just my talents and my talents being shared. But when I think about a young woman who's being abused in her house, who comes to stay with me, or a single mother who something's going on in her life where she needs a roof over her head, and her child coming to stay with me, or any number of friends that you met during high school that needed a roof over their head. So even when working at the YMCA, the number of women that I've impacted there, or being a Zumba instructor and helping people in their weight loss journeys. And so all those things you said cute, but if I were ever going to say the influence has been the edification and uplifting and not enabling, what word am I looking for? The edification and uplifting and the enhancing or enriching of women.
So that's your opportunity to kind of pay it forward, and
Yes.
how Miss Brown did for you.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the interview, Mom. And thank you for allowing me to help you start your YouTube channel.
Now, I don't know if y'all gonna think this is interesting, but thank you for being here.
And thank you all. And please leave comments, subscribe, give us a like, and ask away. We'll be sure to do a part 2 if we get enough questions.
Thanks.